What is going on, everyone? A huge thank you for clicking on today's video. I greatly appreciate it as always. Now I am back today with another ROM hack physical cartridge video. It's been a minute, I know, but we are finally back with something pretty unique. Maybe. I'll let you decide if it's unique or not. But today we are looking at none other than Pokemon Kanto Ultimate for the Game Boy Advance. So you might be wondering what is unique about this. This just looks like any other game you've gotten. Well, what stood out to me is this was an AliExpress buy. Cost me about 40 bucks-ish, I'd say. And what stood out to me the most was it advertised having a RTC, or real-time clock, which I'm sure most of you know, most reproduction fan cartridges, they don't usually come with RTC. It's not necessarily a needed thing, it's just kind of nice to have, but the games technically can function without it, so they usually don't include it. Probably cheaper, I imagine. So having the RTC stood out to me, or as this case puts, the Pocket Real Clock Chip Super Cartridge? The Pocket Real Clock Chip Super Cartridge. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what it says. I had to kind of piece it together through the other games. That's another thing I'll go ahead and say, is that this was not the only game on the listing. They actually had a couple other Pokemon games. I'll try and put them up if I can find them. I know one of them was Liquid Crystal. They all kind of had this same look, and I'm pretty sure they all say the Pocket Real Clock Super Chip instead of RTC, I guess. So we can go ahead and flip it around to the back. We'll take a look at the side here. And it is worth mentioning that I actually had no idea what this back looked like. It did not actually show me what the back of any of the games looked like, so this was a bit of a gamble. I was like, what if this just looks really, really bad? But thankfully it doesn't. It actually looks very clean. There are a few things I want to point out. I'll try and keep it still here. You can pause it if you want to read everything. I'm not going to read all of it, but there are a few things that I do want to point out. We've got a revised Kanto with harder difficulty. I'm not looking forward to that. Legendary Pokemon, DS Tile Sprite, day and night system for the real-time clock, which is nice. Multiple new rivals. We've got Pokemon from pretty much every generation, it looks like. Tons of new characters added in, new story plots. All in all, tons of stuff I am definitely looking forward to checking out. Another thing I wanted to point out down here, I love it, and I think more games should do this, but we have right here, we actually have a little bit more information. We've got Hack of Fire Red, creator Anonymous. So of course, huge shout out to Anonymous for making this probably awesome ROM hack. Haven't actually gotten into it just yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty epic. And we also have right here when it was last updated, which was February 16th, 2024. It's obviously not that date anymore, so there's a good chance it's been updated since. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it looks like we're working with V2. So this is the second version of the game. Also down here has a little bit of information on the real-time clock, just kind of a generic description of what the real-time clock is and what it does in Pokemon. So just a few cool things that I think honestly should become staples for these kinds of, fan games, at least for the creator. Give shout out to the creator. That stuff's always really important. Overall, I'd say this is a pretty neat looking cartridge. Like I said, I didn't know what this back was going to look like, and I could only tell from the front, but it looks good. It's a little silly maybe having this wording, the Pocket Real Clock Super Chip, but hey, if you just look at it from afar, it kind of looks cool, does it not? You can't even read what it says. All right, let's go ahead and pop this open, and I am getting ahead of myself. I've already taken out the game because I'm silly and stupid. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this game here. We've got Kanto Ultimate. So we've got the Fire Red-esque looking cartridge, which makes sense. This is a hack of Fire Red after all. Looks pretty good, it kind of looks, we got the Dragonite. I'm not sure why exactly people resonate with Dragonite, but Dragonite does seem to be a staple with Kanto, so we're using him as the mascot here, and I like it. I like Dragonite. We did notice in here that we actually have a couple of stickers. So this looks to be, I think this is just another one of these right here, in case something ever happens to your sticker. That's kind of neat that they included that. It's the first time I've actually seen that happen, just a little extra sticker in case something goes wrong with your cartridge there. And then I'm assuming this is just a sticker, I guess. Sticker, decal, I mean, it definitely, I bumped that, definitely too big for that, or too small for that, so. Overall, I am liking this packaging, the display, the presentation of it all. It looks pretty neat. I'm definitely excited. The back of the game, aside from it saying that it's going to be pretty hard, I'm pretty excited for it. It seems like this Kanto Ultimate has a lot to offer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pop this into the Game Boy and see if it works. Okay, here we are with Pokemon Kanto Ultimate, and I'll just say, wow. This game is a lot, I'll just say that. Let's go ahead and start with the good stuff first. So this game, I'm pretty sure it did say on the back of the box, it has all of the Pokemon, or at least seemingly all of the Pokemon. You've got Pokemon from Gen 1 all the way up to the modern Scarlet and Violet games, including Paradox Pokemon, if you care about that kind of stuff. Even all of the regional forms like Alolan, Galarian, Hisuian, all that stuff is in here. I'm not sure if the back of the box said it or not, but I did come across Fakemon, or fake regional variants, which is actually really impressive. I wasn't expecting to come across that, but they were all really impressive. I'm not gonna lie, I was jealous with these, maybe Sevi Island variants is maybe what they go by, but yeah, new forms and evolutions to pre-existing Pokemon we already have, and they were all so cool looking. I didn't actually get a chance to use any of them on my team, but I'm definitely looking forward to doing that next time. This hack also uses DS tile sets, which took me a minute to get used to. I'm not used to seeing these DS-esque graphics on a Game Boy Advance, for one, so that just took a minute to get used to, but it was really cool. And we had a sort of redesigned Kanto, if you will. I think we all know Kanto, as much as we love it, it doesn't have the best designed region, especially around like Saffron City. There's like 4 routes connecting to there. They're all just short, and other routes in that area, they're short. And this game takes that into accountability and sort of fixes that. You know, it extends the routes, it adds twists and turns, it adds new trainers and all sorts of stuff, as well as just the spread of Pokemon being there. Very, very unique. So this game does have RTC support, real-time clock support for those who don't know. Most of these games don't come with it. I'm assuming it's probably just cheaper in general not to have it, and the games technically don't need it. But this one did have it. It was very neat being able to just literally turn my game on, and the time of day was different. I wasn't able to test it as extensively as I wanted to. My goal was to try and get the Eevee that we get and evolve that into either Espeon or Umbreon, but for the life of me, I could not get that to happen, and it only wanted to become a Sylveon, so I wasn't able to test like evolution methods, but the time was progressing, which I know was cool and of course very important to the RTC. I'm not sure if any of the other listed games support like the RTC functions, or if they have, you know, functions within the game that support that, but that was as far as I was able to test the RTC for this game. Now this is essentially the same Fire Red Leaf Green story, but there are a few new additions as well as new rivals. So you are kind of getting some manga additions in here with some characters, but we've also got characters from the other games as well, like Johto and Hoenn games. So you've got all of the different gym leaders as well as just various trainers from those games. I think maybe even the Elite Four members as well. And they're just kind of sprinkled throughout the region. They're like little extra people you have to fight, and they're usually pretty beefed up. I mean, the whole game is pretty beefed up, but it was cool being able to run into like Faulkner, Whitney, and people like that. That was really cool. And Team Rocket even had some new additions as well. There were new admins I had never seen before, as well as including Jesse and James, and of course, Butch and Cassidy. I love Jesse and James, but Butch and Cassidy were always just a little bit cooler. And of course, this game also has the quality of life improvements that we've kind of come to expect with a lot of these ROM hacks, like running shoes and infinite TMs, deletable HMs, things like that, as well as like new moves from the newer based games. So we get a lot of those new moves as well as the new Pokemon. Alright, let's go ahead and now move on to the things I guess I had issues with, if we want to say that. So technically I knew what I was getting into, so I won't really call this a real complaint per se, but this game was hard, like Kaizo level hard, and I'm not the biggest Kaizo fan. I guess I knew what I was getting into. It was just hard. I probably lost to every gym leader at least 10 times, as well as the Elite Four members. It was just insane. I mean, the AI is cranked. Every trainer is going to be using multiple items. The level scaling is insane as well. I mean, out the gate, you're dealing with like level like 8s and 9s in the wild. And of course, just in general, it kind of takes me out of it when the first gym leader, Brock, has like 6 Pokemon. I get that that's what I signed up for, but it just takes me out of it. I'm just like, oh my god, 6 Pokemon, this is a lot. And literally everybody was like that. I guess random trainers on routes didn't always have 6 Pokemon, but they weren't taking it easy, I'll say that. And it is also worth mentioning, I did have a suboptimal team. I wasn't the best with that, you know. I picked who I picked. I ran into a shiny Machop, and I obviously had to do that, and I wasn't about to give up my Annihilate, so I definitely had some overlap with types, and it made it difficult, but we managed. There are also a few overworld glitches worth mentioning. As nice as those new routes were, there were a few instances where the border sometimes felt a little incomplete. You know, you're pushing up on the edge of the map, and where there should be trees, it kind of looks like random patches of water or mountain would just be there sometimes. Also, there were some text-based glitches. There are a few NPCs that I would talk to that would just sort of like blah, 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 and kind of gobbledygook stroke out or something. Also, a lot of the newer Pokemon sprites wouldn't always show up properly, so like when you're looking at your team or you're in a PC, they just kind of show up purple, or sometimes they wouldn't show up at all. There were also a few trainer sprite glitches as well. You know, we are working with DS tile sets, so sometimes I would see trainers kind of pop in and out of their old sprites, or my main rival, he'd just sort of like glide around like a poltergeist. He was some sort of ghost. His legs wouldn't move for some reason. Also, there were maybe some type changes. I'm not 100% sure what was going on, but for example, my Talonflame, who's fire flying type, fire type just was super effective against him for some reason. I don't know why fire was super effective against fire for just that instance, but that would happen. Or like Blastoise, pure water, right? For some reason, fighting would just absolutely destroy him. Super effective against Blastoise. There were a few instances like that. Not all of them were like that. Like most of the time, you know, fire beats grass and things like that. But there were just a few instances that made me scratch my head like that. As far as game-breaking glitches, if we want to call it that, there was one that kind of stood out to me. So we do have the national decks that we're working with, and technically they give you the option to click on the national decks from the get-go. However, I would advise not doing that. Anytime I clicked on it, it would just pull up a blank screen, and then I'd have to turn the game off if I wanted to close out of that. For some reason, I just was not able to close out of the national decks, and I would have to turn it off every time, so maybe avoid clicking on the national decks for now. All in all though, I had an enjoyable but extremely difficult time playing this game. I think having all of these Pokemon is great for replayability, it's so cool, but the game, it needs some polishing. I think it's version 2, I'm assuming it's still being worked on, but it's definitely on the right track, I'll say that. It's got a lot of potential. Alright, that is going to bring us to the end of the video here with our physical copy of Kanto Ultimate, which I had a blast playing, but more importantly, the game saves and works as intended. Unlike my last video, Pink version, it didn't really save, so this is certainly a step up. And of course, this also has the RTC, or as the game puts it here, the Pocket Real Clock Chip Super Cartridge. But yes, the RTC, if that's something that you care about, was a feature in this game. It was neat. It was just a neat little function. I wasn't able to test it all the way, but it did have it. It was definitely keeping track of time, which I thought was neat. I also really enjoyed the physical presentation of this one. It had a really neat feature with actually just including this information about the game, and of course the RTC. It was very informational about the game. I didn't even know what this was going to look like, but it ended up being really, really neat. I liked the way this whole thing was designed. It even came with a few extra things, which I thought was nice. You know, an extra game cover in case something happens to your physical cartridge, and then just a little sticker right here. Just a little something extra to help tie everything together. So definitely go check out Kanto Ultimate. I had an absolute blast playing it. Definitely check it out on an emulator first. If you enjoy it, you might consider getting it physically like I did, but I really can't recommend this game enough. There was so much to offer. Definitely check this one out if you like a little bit more of a hardened experience. Like I had a little bit of a challenge here, but maybe that's just me. But seriously, huge shout out to its creator, Anonymous. This was seriously a ton of fun playing. I'm really excited to see what comes next. If there is a potential next version, it was just fun all around. So if you all enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. That would definitely help out the channel a ton. And if you guys have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below, and I will do my best to answer those. But until next time, I'll see you all later.